I scoured the internet for a week to find something funny for the top of this show. You know what I came up with, Ken?
Not sure. I'm interested to find out.
I see this. 91-92 OHL rookie card, signed by Ken Belanger.
It's authentic. Sure, I'm surprised
All right.
you found that out floating around.
Are you ready? Are you ready for what's next?
I'm ready. Bring it on.
We got a, what year is this from?
God, would be 90, 95, 96.
How many years did you get sentenced to for this? This was your mugshot, right?
I actually got a 2-year contract after that haircut.
Why'd you get 2 years? Just on the haircut.
The intimidation factor. Look at that. Would you not be intimidated? Look at the handlebars. Look how tough those look.
Not really. Why would I be intimidated by that?
Look at those handlebars. Look at how thick those are.
Hey, when Domi kicked your ass, you didn't have handlebars like this. He's a clean-cut guy.
Kicked my ass.
All right.
I think Domi kicked my ass.
More on this later. I want to ask you about the Matt Cooke hit. Obviously, this guy doesn't seem to learn his lesson. It's been happening for years. But is 10 games, which is the rest of the regular season, plus the first round of the playoffs, enough for him?
Well, 10 games. What is a 10-game suspension anymore? That's not even a big suspension anymore. We're getting 10-game suspensions thrown out now. That 5 years ago, 10 games was unbelievably unheard of. Now 10 games is pretty much standard for a player like Matt Cooke.
I don't think 10 games is standard at all. Like, look at the suspensions that have happened in the last 6 months. They've all been 3 games, 4 games, 5 games, 3 games, 2 games, 1 game. It doesn't seem like there's any sort of connectivity here. But why is 10 games going to deter him from doing this type of crap again?
It won't. That's his style of play. That's what keeps him in the league. Matt Cooke has been a player like that since he's got in the league. He's been told to play that way by his coaches. He's been patted on the back. He's been rewarded contracts for playing that way. How do you take it away from him now? All of a sudden, the league's cracking down. You can't play the way we've been telling you. Great job playing anymore. Doesn't make sense.
When you saw the hit, what was your initial assessment of it? What did you think he was going to get?
Well, with how these guys been coming down on decision suspension, I didn't know. You knew the league had to give him minimum 10 games just because of the media right now. That was a guaranteed. Had there been nothing in the past, he may have got 5 games, 6 games, but where the media's been, they had no choice but to give him minimum 10 games.
All right, I want to ask you what happens next time these two teams play. If they meet and Matt Cooke is in the lineup, what does the code allow you to do to a guy like him?
Nothing. That's the sad thing. He's been able to do that throughout his career. You had the Darcy Tuckers come in, started that era of players that are enabled to run around. Coaches come off, give him a pat in the back saying, good job, guy, good job, go run around. That's his job. That's his role. What's Matt Cooke expected to do? Is he a heavyweight? Absolutely not. He's not even a lightweight. So who's going to come after him to fight him? If they do fight him, he's going to turtle. Then what? What do you do? Are the Penguins going to be afraid because Matt Cooke's going to get beat up? Definitely not.
Doesn't that just say that maybe the game has evolved into something more than just a guy who can fight? Because Matt Cooke can play the game. Darcy Tucker could play the game. Sean Avery, not having a great season this year, but he can still play the game. Doesn't that kind of say to you that maybe the days of the fighter are over?
No, what it says to me is the days of the respect of the game is gone. What it says to me is that those little shitheads that run around that injure players are taking the game away from the game because they're unable to do it. They're injuring players and have no repercussion to pay for it. In which other young kids see this shit going on, and it really pisses me off.
So this Ken Belanger here, like that's cute, kid. Look at that smile. This Ken Belanger, this was 91-92 in the OHL. There was no instigator back then, I don't think. Was there?
No instigator. That was fresh. I was untainted right there.
So what could you have done to Matt Cooke with no instigator?
What could I have done to Matt Cooke? Well, yeah. Someone would have taken his head off. There's no question. Someone would come up to him and really intent to injure him. There's no question.
All right. I want to move on. You actually kind of led me right into my next question for you. You say intent to injure. All I've heard the last couple of weeks from these morons is, you never want to see a guy get hurt. And, the last thing you want to see is a guy down on the ice. But to me, I think it's the absolute opposite of that. Because there are guys out there who go out there with the intent to injure.
Well, let me rephrase that. They don't specifically go to intent to injure, but they do go out to finish a check as hard as they can. I can tell you that much. You put yourself in one of those players' positions. Are you not going to go out there? You're a third, fourth line player on the bubble. You may be on a two-way contract just called up. You're getting your chance to play. Are you running around to make a big hit, or the third, fourth line is called the energy line? What do you think that means? You're going out there to do
hit.
something.
But you can hit a guy. When was it that the game of hockey became more about body checking? It's going to become more than taking a guy, separating him from the puck. When did it become, like, I'm going to take this guy's head off and try and hurt him?
Well, you want to know when it became that? When it took the instigator rule. That's when it became that. When you had the guys like Darcy Tucker who could run around and hit your Sidney Crosbys. That was unheard of before. That wasn't even a question of the game. But as soon as they took the instigator rule out, it opened the game up for all these little pukes to come in the game and run around and put a spot in the fourth line. That's okay. What it's really done to the game.
Okay, fine. But I heard Brian Burke at the GM meeting saying that, well, if we took fighting out of the game, then you'd see a lot more dirty hits. Look at the NCAA. Well, he talked about stick work and so on, but last time I checked, there's no fighting in baseball. Have you ever seen a guy go up, charge the mound with the bat in his hand trying to kill the pitcher? Well,
baseball is a tough sport to compare hockey to. Hockey's the fastest game on the earth. Baseball, you stand around for 14 innings and watch guys eat popcorn in the crowd. Let's not forget. Doesn't it kind of say
to you that if the game in general, other sports have moved away from it, isn't it kind of time for hockey to leave the fighting in the past?
I think hockey's gone backwards by trying to eliminate fighting. They're trying to change a game that evolved, it's played around emotion intensity. These guys are the world-class athletes who have the top adrenaline. Fastest game on earth. You're encaged in an arena where you've got guys flying around at 40, 50 miles an hour with full adrenaline. You're telling me there's no one that's going to get frustrated? That's what the game is built upon. You try and take out that release valve, and you get guys running around trying to extend themselves because the hit's not there, not going to get a chance, and how else they do it? They go kill somebody.
So why is it that if the game allows you to physically punish a player by hitting him, isn't that good enough payback as it is? Like, why do you need to have fighting in the game?
Fighting is a release valve, and if you ever noticed after a fight, the game will calm down. It alleviates all the stress from the game, and when it's not there, then it's really intense, and there's no one. It's the unknown. No one's sure what's going to happen. Is someone going to continue to run around? Usually after a fight, the team sends a message, okay, listen here, everybody calm down. Let's play a good, clean game. If not, we'll see what's going to happen. There's going to be fights. There's going to be guys that are going to be getting challenged.
You call it a release valve, but what happens if there just wasn't a release valve? Then guys wouldn't have the excuse in their head, I can use it as a release valve. Doesn't that
That's
mean
what's happening right now. You got guys like Matt Cook running around lunging at guys. I don't believe he intentionally had his elbow up to hit him. His mindset going in there was, I have to finish my check. I'm in Pittsburgh. I'm at home. Third line player. Second now, obviously the injuries they got. I have to finish my check. I'm the leader of the team. I have to show the team his responsibility is to finish every hit. That's his role. So he extends himself. Look what happens. He opens himself up. He gets a 10-game suspension, hinders the team, makes Mario Lemieux look like a donkey.
All right. What do you think the conversation between Lemieux and Matt Cook was that supposedly happened Sunday night?
Very few words. I'd say Lemieux would be very disappointed because he made him look bad. He made the Pittsburgh Penguins look bad. They were the first ones to whine and cry about all these hits. Mario Lemieux was disappointed in the league. Now you got Mario Lemieux's own player, his captain, his assistant, his leader, showing this type of play. You know what? I would say Mario would be very few words, and I wouldn't be surprised. I'm not sure Matt Cook contract status, but if he even resigns with the Pittsburgh Penguins next year.
Yeah, he's got 2 years left at $1.8 million, or maybe the buyout's $1.8 million. I'll have to check that. But do you ever have a conversation with an owner like that, or did they just not know your name?
I had a conversation with Spano, who's still in the Islanders, but It was about horses in Dallas. It wasn't about it wasn't about the game whatsoever. So no, we had nachos, salsa band, and that was as deep as our conversation went.
Was it this Ken Belanger?
That was Ken Belanger. I think you know what? Now thinking about it, he may have been scared to talk to me.
Well, he probably called you into his office to say stop doing this shit, but he saw that. I don't want to do that.
He was good. He was good.
Danny Heatley, you saw the hit last week on Steve Ott. What did you think? What did you think Heatley was trying to accomplish by this, other than injuring a player?
Steve Ott's another player that goes in the category with Matt Cook and with Darcy Tucker. Same style, run around, always got that little stupid grin on his face, and will turn your head for a second. He'll do something dirty. He'll hit you. Same style player. So I have no remorse, no sad feelings for a guy like that gets hurt. What comes around goes around, and what they always said is you live by the sword, die by the sword. It's sad that you got a guy like Heatley needs to take any negative press for hitting a guy like that, but the reality is that's part of the game.
I don't think that's true at all. Like Steve Ott is not he's not a bad hockey player. He's an effective player. You might not like the style he plays, but he's not a bad player. But what Heatley did by going out of the way, seeing that he was going to miss him, and then lunging into him like that with his elbow, says to me that he deserved a lot more than 2 games.
Yeah, but see, what we didn't see, what Ott obviously did away from the camera to make Heatley go after him, lunge him. So it's part of the game, and it's sad. It's always the retaliation that people see they get called on. There was something that happened during the game that had, coaxed Heatley onto saying, you know what, screw you, you little shit. Had him coming after you. And that's what happened. He didn't care about what was going to happen, and he was like, I'm going to get you back. And that's part of the game.
But how can he make the argument that 2 games is a fair amount for him? Like, I've seen a lot worse than that go punished for 25 games. I've seen the exact same thing that he did go punished for 10 games. Does it make any sense to you?
Well, it makes sense in the fact that you've seen that's the whole political part of the game. It's Danny Heatley, it's the San Jose Sharks. Who cares about the San Jose Sharks in the media? Do we even see them on TV? Do you think?
Why does that have anything to do with it? San Jose Sharks, sure. They're at the top of the Western Conference standings.
There's no pressure.
Why does it matter what they're like in the media?
Because media is what deters people from making good or bad decisions. They're the ones, and the media makes it a great call or a bad call. But the reality is in Southern California, nobody cares. No one cares in Toronto about what's going on in San Jose because you don't even get any coverage. You don't get media. You don't get coverage. The San Jose newspaper don't even care about what call it was. So the reality is Danny Heatley as well. So it's part of the game that Southern California, there's no major pressure on Colin Campbell to make a bad decision in the West.
So you think because Colin Campbell gave him 2 games because it's San Jose and nobody cares?
I think so. He probably got a margarita as well.
I think he was probably in Toronto at his office. I actually never knew his office was in Toronto until I saw him outside the Air Canada Centre a few weeks ago. But what I wanted to say to him, I didn't. But what I would have asked him was, why is it that star players get special treatment?
Star players are the game.
So,
bottom line,
does that mean that in society, if a famous person goes out there and murders someone, he doesn't get the same sentence that if you or I did it? Well, I mean, you're a little more famous than I am, but is that what it means?
Oh, yeah, look at Charlie Sheen. He's a rock star. I'm thinking about going out doing something crazy right now.
What's Charlie Sheen done that's been so against the rules, aside from, his openness and his love for cocaine?
What hasn't he done as a role model for the youth demographics that made it public to thinking going off the wall is okay? And look at the fan base he's developed out of it.
And you think that when Danny Heatley skated by Steve Ott and threw up his elbow like that, you think that was setting a good role model for kids that want to play the game?
Yeah, you know what? That is part of the game, and that's part of the game that the game itself can't govern, and that wouldn't have happened if the Steve Ott didn't do something dirty back in the game. At the end of the day, that we can't control what happens now. It's what Colin Campbell. It's what these guys decide to make the rule changes of taking the instigator rule out.
You've only been suspended once, right?
Yeah, once.
OHL, did you get suspended at all?
No, you've seen my picture in the OHL. It's a pretty boy.
Yeah, this Ken Belanger was too busy scoring goals, right?
Scoring goals, absolutely. Starting the crowd.
So when you get suspended, what happens? Like, you only had 1 game suspension for a double instigator, right?
Yeah, for my third instigator penalty.
Now, did Colin Campbell give you a buzz and say, "Hey, yeah, just want to let you know it's Colin Campbell here, and you're sitting for tomorrow night"?
No, you know what? It wasn't a necessary enough call. It was just a standard rulebook call. Most of the phone calls come down to the disciplinary. I think when it's a major infraction.
Okay, and when Marty McSorley got a 20-game suspension, I believe it was 20 games, did anybody on the team find out what happened with that phone call or the hearing?
No, you know what? They keep it pretty quiet. Marty kept it pretty quiet, and I think it stays between the player, the agent, and the NHLPA and the league, Colin Campbell. So what I assume would happen, obviously they're going to get the NHLPA is representing Marty, and they're going to try and debate his case on what happened, what led up to the incident, why it happened, and why he should only get so many games. They'll debate with the league on their decision, and it'll come down to ultimately what the league decides what really happened and what he should be getting.
Last night there was no appeal from Ray Shero or Mario Lemieux and the Pittsburgh Penguins, so obviously they felt that this was a fair punishment. But before we wrap this up, you got anything for me today?
Yeah, quick question here. Like you're pretty deep in the media world now. Do you believe the media? And we're talking, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, all the social media out there in the world. Do you believe this is good for the game of hockey, or do you believe it's better for the critics who can rate about the game and have more dirt to shoot it down?
I think that the media is the best thing to happen to the game of hockey, because a lot of players seem to forget that without the media, there's no hockey. There's no $1 million paychecks. There's none of that. Without fans to support the game, there's nothing there. The media is a bridge between the fans and the sport, and they've done a great job in the last 10 years of adapting to the surroundings and making players more accessible. Because when I got involved when I started loving hockey when I was a little kid, there was one night a week where you could watch in Toronto, and you could watch 3 Leaf games and one, I believe, Sunday afternoon show. But now it's everywhere. You cannot go anywhere without seeing it, and I think that's the best thing for hockey.
What about those reporters that have no clue what they're talking about and are trashing the game and trashing the injuries? Do you enjoy reading that as well as a hardcore hockey fan?
I do, because I think deep down those guys are fans as well, and I think that they've seen the game from a perspective that not a lot of people at home get to see it from. But I think that those people believe that the game has a serious problem, and there's a lot of issues going on right now that need to be resolved, and they're probably just trying to get a reaction out of people. But if they can change the game a bit and maybe make Gary Bettman think that there's problems here, then they've done their job.
Very happy with that answer today, Corey. Very happy.
Are you more informed now?
You know what? I'm very content now. I'm actually on the media side. It really, I'm glad you give me the inside story and how it is.
Well, you are a member of the media, and I'm not going to kiss your ass too much, but I do like it how you won't hesitate to tell a story about a guy that you've heard before. You won't hesitate to rip on a guy who was one of your fellow players. I do like that about guys, and too often in the media, guys will refuse to comment, and it really just makes for bad TV or radio.
Speak the truth.
Yeah, I'm not kissing your ass ever again, so take that as a compliment. For this Ken Belanger and this ex-con, I'm Corey Landsberg. We'll be back next week.